I just realized that I'm on mute. So what I was saying was you are here watching the Lunchtime live stream from Hipstitch Academy. My name is Megan, and every week on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I do a free sewing lesson, and it's usually some sort of pattern that I find online for free, so you can download it. It doesn't cost you any money to download it. The only thing you have to spend money on is the fabric to make the project. And if I know you guys well enough, you probably have fabric in your stash. I try to choose things too that, you know, don't have any sort of crazy fabric. This top that I'm making that I will show you right now, this top is done with quilters cotton. So you can see that the line drawing a little bit better here. It's kind of a cropped top. There are no darts or anything. You just wrap this little tie around, and it's got, I guess, mid-length sleeves on it. It's a skill level 1.5. It's from Peppermint Magazine, which is an amazing online magazine that gives away tons of free clothing patterns, and we do a lot of their patterns in this Lunchtime live stream. If you don't know me, I teach sewing online. We do a lot of classes online in the evening where we pick a project, we go through it together. It's a little bit slower paced than this Lunchtime live stream, and you're actually there with me live. So it's more of a community, whereas this is, I'm taking you through the steps. If you have burning questions, send me a smoke signal. No, just kidding. You can chat on the YouTube. You can chat over on the actual YouTube live stream, and hopefully I'll see it. Or you can always just send me an email. Now, if I go faster than you sew, don't stress. This is for 1 hour, but then the recording is automatically put onto my YouTube channel. So I try to go a little bit rapid pace. I mean, it's not super fast, but I do move along because I want to, today especially, it's part 2, I want to finish the project. So that being said, I'm about on step, now I wanted to clarify something if you are following along with me on step 7. When we did the shoulder seams, in the instructions, they wanted you to do a French seam. I skipped the French seam. So you would have no raw edges here. Just to keep it a little bit simpler, I skipped the French seams. What I'm going to do is, after I put the facing on, which is our next step, I'm going to probably serge or zigzag my raw edges so they are not raw. French seams are a little fancier way of encasing the raw edges. I skipped that. So you're just going to have to do it my way. If you're interested in how a French seam works, I would Google French seam on YouTube, and I'm sure someone has put together a really great demonstration. Okay, that being said, I'm going to move along to step 9. I'm going to place my facing that we finished in the last live session for the wrap top. I'm going to put the raw edge up against this back neck raw edge, and you'll see it fits right on there. So the straight part lines up like this. This curved part lines up nicely. And same thing over here. So I'm just going to continue to pin that, and then with a 1 centimeter, aka about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to sew that on. You just don't want to, well, one of the things you want to make sure is that you follow the seam allowance here. So I lied. It's going to be about a 1/2 inch seam allowance along where the facing's getting sewn to the shoulders. And then you can go a little bit closer to the edge once you're around this curve. And then again, you want that to meet up. So why don't we flip it over and we will sew along the stitching that we can see here. And then we did some stitching along this, stay stitching along the neckline. So I'm just going to make sure that I just go just below my stay stitching. And then once again, I'm going to follow that. So that's the easiest way to do this step. Let's turn the sewing machine camera on. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and place that on. So I'm lining it up with the stitching that is already on the shoulder seam. And I'm following that line of stitching. Now I'm realizing that my facing got flipped up. So I'm going to back up a little and keep going. So I'm still following the shoulder seam. Put my needle down. I'm going to turn the corner. You can see I'm just below where that stay stitching is. And then I will meet up with the shoulder seam stitching and make sure that my facing that we can't really see, it's underneath, make sure that's nice and flat the way we want it. I'm going to put some pins down. I need to hold those while I sew. And I could see where my facing ended, so that's where I backstitched. Take it off and bring that back over. Now I'm gonna, since this is a curved edge, I'm going to clip that seam, and then that is going to get flipped over to the inside, and that's what's going to make the neck edge nice and finished. So let me just clip that and I'll show you what I mean by that. So grab my scissors. All right, so clip, clip, clip. Excuse me. And when I say clip, I'm clipping the curves, I just mean that I'm doing little cuts about 1 inch apart into the seam allowance. And what that's going to do is allow the facing, maybe I'll cut off these corners. So if you have a corner that you're going to have to turn right side out, it can be helpful to clip that. And then that's going to get flipped inside. So you can see once you flip this in, this seam is now very nicely finished and looking gorgeous on the inside. So I'm just putting some pins here because I'm going to top stitch. Let me bring this one over as well. See, doesn't that look nice? It's like the shirt doesn't have to be lined, but there's this nice little piece inside to make everything clean finish. Okay. There we go. Perfect. So I'm going to top stitch. And what I'm going to do is, since I've already stitched these wrap front edges, I want to continue where those leave off to top stitch the back here, and that's going to help it stay on the inside. You can also tack down like this shoulder seam here, and that'll make it stay inside, or if you wanted to tack it down right all along here, you can do that. I'm going to skip that for now, but you'll see once you try it on and try it off, this is still going to sometimes flip, so you could tack it down right here in the middle, whatever works for you. And when I say tack it down, I just mean add some stitching. You can do that by hand. you can do that by machine, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to top stitch this edge right here. So you can see I have my top or my stitching from the front, and I'm going to follow that line. Oh, I didn't follow very well. It's about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You're pretty close to the edge, about the same as what you did when you stitched on the front. And back stitch to finish it off. Okay, great. I'm going to bring it back to the table, and I'm going to turn it back inside out because we have to sew the side seams. So if I push the camera up a little bit, you can kind of see the bigger picture. So we've got the shoulder seam, and now I'm lining up the side seam, and I'm going to do that with some pins like this. And I'm gonna sew the side seam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then do the same thing on the other side. So you can see this is the armhole where the sleeve is going to go in, and then these are the side seams. These are the darts from last time. Those are going to go down. And I'm going to pin the edge. Got the balls of my pins going in this time just because of the way my hands are. It's okay. All right, we're going to sew that. And I'm just going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So basically the edge of my presser foot with the edge of my fabric. And I want to start at the top and go to the bottom the same way I did on the other side. So I've just flipped it. Can't see my pins, but as long as I take them out ahead of time, they're fine. So now we've got our side sewn. So this shirt has this great long wrap, but it's sort of annoying because it's dragging on the ground every time I move it from sewing machine to table. Okay, so the next we've got to work on is our sleeves. Now, one of the changes that I'm going to make to mine, or I should say adjustments, actually I've already made it. I have shortened these sleeves quite a bit. I didn't want them to be as like mid-length on my arm, so I just, you know, normally they would have been maybe down to here or something. I don't need that long of a sleeve, so I trimmed the fabric And now, before I put my sleeves in, I'm going to make this really easy, and I'm going to hem my sleeves because I know this is how long I want them to be. So I'm going to double fold them. Each fold is a 1/2 inch. Winds up making the sleeve about 1 inch shorter, which is perfect. And I'm going to fold and hem it now because once I sew it together and sew it into my shirt, it's a lot harder to hem because it's like a big loop. I like to hem if I can when it's flat. And then I always just do like a little test to make sure. So I think I need to just want to make sure that once they get sewn together, this is going to be as long as this. So that's what I'm testing right now. And for me, it's good enough. Okay, so that's a double fold. I'm going to sew along this top edge over here, not over here. Do the same thing on this one. You can see I've got some little things. I'm just gonna wrap them up right in there. Which is fine. And you can iron this, that's fine too. I'm just not wanting to get up and use my iron. It's on, but I just am finger pressing. So if I ever refer to finger pressing, that's what I'm doing. I'm using my fingers to press on the seam. And then again, I'm just going to make sure that this is relatively close. Yep, that looks good. Okay, again, I'm sewing on this upper edge here, all the way across, really close to the edge. So we'll say it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but you just want to be close to the edge. Going to be good, and I'm going to put all my pins back in my pin cushion. And before I even take that off, I'm just going to start the other one. Get it lined up under there. Don't even have to cut the first one off. That. And then I've got 2 sleeves that are connected. I can snip that. And then you guessed it. We are folding the sleeve in half and pinning along this straight edge. And that's where we're going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1 and 2. Cool. Just gonna take a look at the instructions here real quick. So if you're following along, well, I'm noticing something I did wrong, but that's okay. So I was supposed to leave the side open to do my little wrap. So the wrap has to go through. I didn't do that, but that's what seam rippers are for, so I can easily do that. And we are on step 19. We are pinning the side of the sleeve together. And then once that's done, we're going to gather the edge of the sleeve before we put them into the armhole. So those need to be gathered. so they can be sewn into the wrap. Just look here. What does the front look like? So we only have to have a hole for the wrap tie to go through on one side. So we'll only have to seam rip one side, and we're not doing the French seams on the side either, obviously. Once we get these sleeves in, it's just a matter of finishing the bottom of the shirt and finishing the end of the tie. So we are in the home stretch. This is great. So you've got the instructions to refer to them. Just keep in mind, I'm not doing the French seams. Makes it a little bit less confusing in my opinion. You're an intermediate sewer and you want to do French seams, I say go for it. However, I am not. As in, I'm not doing the French seams. And, once again, I can line up my next one. Right, cool. Sleeves. And for gathering, there are probably notches on the pattern. I'm going to stick a pin right about here and right about here. And I'm going to gather. Let's see, make that a little bit more even. I want that to be about the same distance. I'm going to gather from here to here. So let's get this other one ready and put those pins in the same spot. I can feel where they are. Also look where they are. That looks good. Now, when I do my gathering, again, I'm going to do it along that edge. I'm going to do 2 rows of stitching. The first one's going to be a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric, and the second one is going to be a 1/4 inch in from that. Okay. So here we go. Now, basting stitch. This needs to be a basting stitch. So I'm going to bring my stitch length to as high as it goes. I've got my presser foot hanging off the edge, so I know I'm at a 1/4 inch. It's going to go really fast. The stitches are really big, so you're going to get to the other pin in no time. Don't backstitch, pull it off, leave a nice long tail, and go back and do it again a 1/4 inch from that line of stitching. Just be careful not to cross over your first line. Go slow. Okay. You'll see I might bring it a little closer. You can see that you've got 2 tails from your basting that you're gonna grab, and you're gonna pull. You're gonna hold the 2 tails of the thread that's on the wrong side here of the sleeve, and you're just gonna pull the fabric along the stitching so that it starts to gather up. And then I want you to distribute this gathering evenly. Now, how much you gather is going to depend on how big the armhole of your shirt is. And I am not going to worry about which one goes in which armhole, to be honest, because while they were not perfectly symmetrical sleeves, they were pretty darn close, and it's not going to make a huge difference. But I encourage you to check your notches on the pattern piece, because that's how you can determine which one's going to go in which armhole. I feel like they are symmetrical enough that I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so here goes nothing. We are going to find the armhole, and the armhole is going to be inside out. We're going to take the sleeve, and that's going to be right side out. And you'll see what's going to happen is that this kind of goes, and now you can see mine is not fitting at all, which means I've gathered it way too much. So I'm going to take some of the gathering out. So it's definitely more of a gradual gathering, but that's the cool part about gathering a sleeve. It's customizable to your armhole. That's looking a little bit better. Okay, so once you've got it where you feel like it's going to go all the way around, you're going to turn it. So you're looking at the sleeve and it looks like this. Turn it the other way and take the finished edge and put it inside. Then you're going to take the bottom of the sleeve where that seam is that we sewed and line it up with the side seam of the shirt. And guess what? You're going to put a pin right there so that they line up. And now I want you to work your way up this left side like I'm doing. I'll do 2 pins, and then I'm going to work my way up the right side. And this is where there's pretty much no gathering. So I'm going to stop once things start to gather. 1 and 2. Okay, great. Then what you can do is sort of find the middle. So like the middle of the sleeve, that's going to line up with the top of the sleeve hole where the shoulder seam is on the shirt. And then everything else will start to line up. So you see how you can kind of adjust the gather to make the sleeve fit into the armhole. Looking pretty good. There we go. So it's just kind of easing it and playing with it till the sleeve becomes the size of the armhole. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. So it's looking like, okay, that's way too gathered. Slide some of the gathering out to make the sleeve bigger, and then it's going to fit. Beautiful. And it's a little tight. So again, you can kind of like ease that fabric. There's a little bit of give in the fabric. We're going to use that give. And we're going to pin. So now we've got our sleeve inside the sleeve hole. We're going to put it on the sewing machine. I'm going to take off that little junk drawer so that the sleeve can go right on the free arm, just like this. So we slide it, doesn't matter where you start it. Slide it on. I'm going to just lower my presser foot so it holds it on there. And the whole armhole is going to be able to go around the free arm. And then don't forget, since we were just last basting, you need to take it off the basting stitch to whatever you were using before. I'm going to start by taking some pins out. Find my pin cushion. And with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew all the way around the armhole. Here is where I started. Go to where I started, run that over, do a back stitch on top, and pull it off. And we'll come on over here. And if I turn that off, we'll be able to see this a little bit bigger. So it's always fun when you do a sleeve to see what that looks like. So let's turn it right side out. And you can see we've got a beautiful capped sleeve. And I can see some of my gathering stitching along here, and that is so easy to get rid of. Just grab your seam ripper and pull that out. Now that you've sewn the actual seam, you can pull out the gathering, but the gathering will actually stay because when you sewed it, the sleeve in, that's why it will stay. So obviously you need to do that on the other side as well. I am going to do some hemming on the bottom. And if I have time, I'll do the other sleeve. But for now, I want to fold in the bottom edge of these ties. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch fold with my iron all the way so that when I actually sit down to sew it, I'm going to fold it a second time. I don't have to iron the second fold. I iron the first fold, then I know how big the second fold will be, and I can follow that fold all the way to hem the bottom of the shirt. So I am going to grab my ironing board so you guys can see what I'm doing. Here's the ironing board. Unplug the wrong thing. Here's my little mini iron. That has come in really handy for things like this. And let's see here. Okay, iron plugged in. Back to the tie. If your tie is wrinkled like mine, you can always give it a press. But here's what we're doing. 1/4 inch fold. Turning that as we go. You'll see if your iron is nice and hot, it'll just stay creased down. Just keep putting more fabric in front of you. And if you've got, you obviously want to turn your seam allowances the same way they were turned above. This is going to be the never ending piece. Wow, okay, so I'm halfway. Continue to crease. Again, this is just one fold. And that's what makes this super easy. Looks like this one I opened. So follow it and open it like that. All the way to the other end of the tie. And once again, just see if I can flatten that a little. And I'm back to the other side. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to go back and find the very beginning. Put that on the sewing machine. Turn the sewing machine camera back on. And this way too, you don't need any pins. So you're just taking the single fold, you're folding it a second time as much as you folded it the first time. That's why it's super easy. And then you're placing that under the needle to sew. And I like to kind of stop, get a good chunk ahead and hold it. And then sew that section and go and get a new section and sew that. So you're just sewing it in like chunks. It will feel like this takes forever, but eventually you'll get to the other side. You definitely want to check your bobbin before you do this, because it would stink if you ran out of bobbin halfway through. All right, so we still have a raw edge at the end here. So while I'm here, I'm just going to do a double fold, and I'm going to pivot at the corner and then sew across the end of this tie as well. Just be really careful. It's really, there's a lot of fabric under these corners. Can't get that to move. Just kind of put your presser foot up, skip over the corner where it's really tough to get it moving, and just keep going from there. It'll be fine. Corner, and then I'm going to continue this way if I can get it to go. Yeah. That's where I'm going to do a little back stitch. So cut that off. And then we want to go back to the beginning of the tie and do the same thing on this raw edge. So I'm going to double fold. I'm not even going to pin. Put your finger. There we go. Okay, I'm going to get the hot iron out of my way, I think. So, okay, so now I've got the bottom all cleaned up. Awesome. Now, sorry, I've got like can't seem to clear my throat. I did some exercise before I did this, and I think I should have waited a little bit, but 2 o'clock came and I didn't want to be late. All right, so the thing that happened that I was talking about before, let me pull this back, is that we have to have the a little space for the wrap to come through the shirt. And I did not leave a spot for that to happen. It really doesn't matter. If you care, you can try it on and figure out which side you want it on. I'm going to just put it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark about a 2-inch hole right here. And that is where I'm going to seam rip so that I can pass the wrap. So this wrap from the other side has to be able to pass through there. I think I can make that a little bit smaller, actually. Well, whatever, I'll leave it like that. So I'm going to seam rip that area. And I'm just going to slide my seam ripper under the stitches about every 3 stitches. And here's what I recommend that you do, just so it doesn't continue to undo. Is I want you to go back, if you're seam ripping like me, and you want you to back stitch right here, and I want you to backstitch right here. And then the other thing you can do is you can iron open the seam allowances, kind of iron those flat, and then you could stitch those. I'm not going to worry about that for right now, but I am going to go back and backstitch here and here, and then see this wrap is going to be able to pass through, so you can wrap it. Oops, not to be flipped. So you can wrap that around your body without a problem. Okay, so I'm going to backstitch that, and then I think I'm actually going to just try it on my dress form. It's going to be missing a sleeve, but I'm going to try it on the dress form because I think half the battle with wrap tops sometimes are actually how the heck do you get them on? So that's what I'm going to show you. Okay, so this hot iron can be unplugged at this point, I think. Okay. Where'd it go? There it is. So rather than having that open, I just want to go back to this, and yeah, so I'm going to cut this thread, and this is where I need to reinforce, and this is where I need to reinforce. Cut it, and then move it to this side. Excellent. Let's just take a look at how it looks here on the table here. Back it up. There's one side. Here's the side. So you need to fold in the side opposite where the hole is first. So there's no hole here. The hole is for the wrap tie is over here. So that's the one that needs to go. The side opposite needs to close first. The tie passes through when you're wearing it. And then this one closes. Looks kind of funny because I only have one sleeve on it. This one comes around and wraps around your body. Is that right? No, I've done something wrong because, oh no, that's right. So then this comes to the front. And then this one that has passed through goes behind you as well. And they meet either in the front like this, where they can tie, or you could just do it in the back. So I feel like we should change the camera view to me. And I'm just gonna move this so you can see. I get out of the way. Here we go. Here's my dress form. That is sort of my size. I'm a little bigger than she is right now, but that's okay. It's been a long winter. All right, so wrap top 101. Put it on your shoulders. Put your sleeves through. My dress form has no arms, so there's no arms to put through the sleeves, but you'll want to do that. Then the hole is over on this side. So I'm going to wrap the opposite side under first, pop that out the hole. bring that tight. Oh, this is going to be so cute. Back it up a little. This one comes around the back and goes to here. Now this one just wraps around this side. Hold on. There we go. And then they meet in the middle. Give yourself a bear hug or someone else and tie it. Now, because this strap is not finished on the ends, you may want to flip so you can't see the wrong side of the fabric, or, you know, honestly, there might have been a way that they did it so you only saw the right side of the fabric, but this is it, folks. This is the one-armed, the one-sleeved wrap top. I'm going to put my other sleeve on. I have such a lovely outfit on today. I'm kind of embarrassed as you all see me right now, but I'm getting ready to go away for a little trip. So I'm going to shower right after this, but I wanted to get this done. You see it here. And anyway, like I said, I'm going to throw this other sleeve on, take a nice picture. I think I might even wear this today. I'm excited about it. So I'll take some photos either of me wearing it or on the dress form. And hopefully you all will finish yours as well. If there's any questions about this project, don't hesitate to let me know. Love doing these for you guys. And yeah, I will see you next week. And yeah, if there's any questions, email me, put a comment in the YouTube comments. I don't know, DM me on Instagram. You know how to reach me. And I'm going to sign off a little bit early, and hopefully you all are going to make this, or you did it along with me. Send pictures. I'd love to see your projects.